Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do will never work in a real fight. That's not an opinion, it's a fact. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why. Because if you're relying on Jeet Kune Do to save you in a real fight, you're setting yourself up for the rudest awakening of your life. Let's check it out. Here's the truth. Jeet Kune Do is a glorified kickboxing hybrid wrapped in vague philosophical packaging. It cherry picks from other martial arts without the structural depth of any truly functional combat methodology. At its core, JKD is a sparring-oriented martial art built for controlled exchanges, not the chaos and brutality of real-world combat. Essentially, it's cosplay for martial artists. And let's be honest, Jeet Kune Do practitioners are man-children who've watched way too many Bruce Lee movies and actually think real combat plays out like a scene from Enter the Dragon. Now, before the Jeet Kune Do tribalists lose their minds and rush to the comments section claiming I don't know what I'm talking about or I've never studied Jeet Kune Do, let me set the record straight again. I was studying Jeet Kune Do long before it was trendy and long before YouTube ever existed. And I trained under a direct student of Bruce Lee himself. So yes, I know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. My criticisms of Jeet Kune Do are nothing new. They go back to the early 90s when I was writing about these very same problems in martial art magazines and breaking them down in my instructional videos back in the Panther production days. I've been calling out JKD flaws for decades. I've even written a book titled Bruce Lee's 5 Methods of Attack. So this isn't some hot take for clicks. This is a position that I forged from experience, research, and a lifetime in the martial arts. And let me make something perfectly clear. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Bruce Lee, his innovation, his physical skills, and his wisdom to break away from rigid traditions. My problem is with the cultist Jeet Kune Do community. They've taken Bruce's personal training concepts and turned them into a virtual clown show. They worship the man while butchering his ideas, thinking that what worked for Bruce Lee personally will work for them. I can assure you, it won't. That's why these flaws are so dangerous and why I need to break them down for you. And later in this video, I'm going to reveal the single biggest irony about JKD that nobody talks about. The reason Bruce Lee himself would be disgusted with what the JKD community has become. Trust me, you'll want to hear this one. Jeet Kune Do has so many inherent flaws, I could spend hours breaking them down. But you'd run out of patience long before I ran out of problems. So in today's video, I'll focus on just a few of the most dangerous ones. The flaws that don't just give you a false sense of confidence, they can get you hurt or possibly killed in a real fight. And that's why I don't even consider it to be an RBSD solution. Now, let's start with the so-called 5 methods of attack, which are still paraded around as a core framework in Jeet Kune Do. And yes, I've got a problem with all of them. But for now, I'm going to zero in on 3 of the worst offenders. The attack by draw, the indirect attack, and the immobilization attack. In the chaos of real violence, these aren't just tactical flaws. They're express tickets to the morgue. Attack by draw is counterfighting. In this method of attack, you offer the opponent an intentional opening designed to lure his attack. A common attack by draw technique is something like a wide hand positioning that says, come on, take your best shot. And if the opponent takes the bait, the practitioner, meaning me, would swiftly execute a pre-planned and perfectly timed counterattack. Now, let's dissect this nonsense. Okay, the attack by draw, which is totally sparring oriented, has zero application in the street, yet lots of martial arts and specifically Jeet Kune Do teaches. I'll show you a basic example of it. So Tommy and I are squared off. We're in a street fight, believe it or not. And I'm going to draw the attack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my hands open. And assuming that Tommy is going to see that opening, which is a big assumption, He's going to exploit this opening and throw a straight shot. Again, huge risk. You have no idea what he's going to throw, but of course, according to the JKD people, he's going to throw a straight shot. So it looks like this. Tommy takes the lead shot, I parry, and maybe I redirect and I finger jab. Or let's say he throws a rear cross. Tommy throws a rear cross, I parry and I step in with an elbow technique. Never gonna work in a street fight. You're gonna get your ass handed to you. Who's to say that when my hands are open, Tommy's gonna throw a straight punch? Let's say he's a grappler. He decides to go under and tackle me. You're making an assumption that he's gonna see this opening and exploit it. People may not. It's a huge risk. Also, there are people out there that have excellent hand speed. And I'm telling you, if he throws a lightning fast lead hand, he's gonna nail you before you can parry and counter. So you're assuming that he's slow. I'm telling you right now, there are guys out there, especially the MMA guys, these guys have lightning fast hands. These are huge mistakes that you're gonna make if you have an open hand position and try to draw in the attack. And most importantly, if you're opening your hands, you're letting him strike first. And you know anything about me or contemporary fighting arts, we are the ones who strike first because the one who strikes first has a tremendous advantage in a street fight. Next, we have the indirect attack, which builds through stages. The initial technique is not the coup de grace, meaning the knockout shot. In fact, in many indirect attacks, the initiating technique is not even a strike, but it's a number of different types of feints or other deceptions designed to open up the assailant for the follow-up blow. Even when the initiating tool is a kick or a punch or a strike, it serves merely as a setup for the finishing blow. Now, let's watch this bad idea get dismantled. My objective in the indirect attack is to, let's say, for example, hit Tommy in the head. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw the attention low. So I'm either gonna use a feint or some partial technique to get him to drop that hand down and perform a vertical parry. So it's supposed to look like this. Tommy and I square off, I feint low, I get that reaction, and then I come up with a hook. Again, that's the idea of an indirect attack. So, what are the flaws? How do you know this guy is gonna even parry when I throw the low shot? Let's say he doesn't even see it. Let's say he decides just to rush forward, attack me, charge me, drive through with his adrenaline and his rage. This is the real world, guys. You're assuming this guy is some sort of martial artist or MMA fighter where he's gonna see the low shot and parry it. It's an absurd assumption that's gonna get you in serious trouble in the streets. The truth is, the indirect attack is nothing more than glorified ring fighting. This is something you never do in a street fight. You have to understand, anytime you motion to strike, you've got to have 100% commitment. You've got to be devoted to taking him out. And if you rely on feinting or faking or trying to draw a hand down, you're going to get obliterated in the street. Remember, this stuff may work in the ring. It'll never work in the streets. The immobilization attack, or hand trapping, is a complex system of moves and counter moves that allow you to control and manipulate the assailant's arms or hands temporarily in order to create an opening to attack. Now, trapping requires lightning quick reflexes and highly developed tactile sensitivity. While often associated with Jeet Kune Do, these trapping sequences are also a staple of other equally stupid and impractical systems, such as Wing Chun, Silat, and various Filipino martial arts. Now, let's expose the stupidity. Now, this is by far the most ridiculous and absurd methodology for any form of self-defense. I'm going to show you how it's supposed to work. Tommy and I are squared off. I'm pretty much in the kicking range, but I'm going to step in with a punch. As I step in with a punch, Tommy's going to react with giving me, of course, I have to tell him what to do because they're assuming the opponent's going to react the way they hope he does. Tommy didn't even react to it. So the hand comes up. Now I have an attachment. An attachment is any time the limbs are touching. This is the prerequisite to initiating trapping techniques or immobilization. So when I throw the hand up, Tommy, reach out here. Now I'm gonna build on this. I'm gonna slap his hand, what they call a paksao, and I'm gonna step in with a vertical fist. Notice how Tommy doesn't even parry, because people on the street don't train like this. So you're not even gonna get the reaction that you're hoping for. You're hoping for a prescribed response. So I'm gonna coach Tommy through it. and show you how it's supposed to work. Once again, I step in with a punch, I get this barrier, this attachment. I pox out and punch, Tommy parry it, that's what I want. Now I'm gonna build off this. From here, I can punch through here, trap his limb, and then strike again. Or depending on the energy of his backhand, if he gives me a real strong parry, I'm gonna roll and I'm gonna back fist. So the idea here, Tommy here, the idea here is to trap his limb, immobilize his limb, and neutralize him with shots. It is never gonna work in a street fight. It may work with another Wing Chun practitioner, which is a snowball's chance in hell you're gonna fight one in the street, and even if you did, you'd kick his ass because they don't even know how to fight. The point is, these trapping techniques will never work. They're antiquated, they require prescribed response, they require tactile sensitivity, which doesn't exist in a street fight. A street fight is a car wreck. The argument with trapping is that it's a brief moment in time that you're going to exploit. Let me tell you something again. Real combat involves adrenaline. It involves fear. It involves, in many cases, people who are completely enraged. I'm telling you something. You're not going to have this structure, Tommy. We are not going to have this attachment. It's not going to exist. And I'm going to use an example, a really bad example, because mixed martial arts really is not related to street combat. If trapping truly worked, you would see this all over UFC matches or MMA matches or octagon fights. It doesn't happen because it doesn't exist. These people are living in a fantasy world. And the true matter of it is they've never experienced real world combat, because if you did, you would know that this shit does not exist. Tommy, give me a reaction. One more time, give me a reaction. That is not going to happen in a real fight. In real world combat, it's brutal, it's unpredictable, it's chaotic. There is no structure like this that's ever going to survive a real combat encounter. Now, for those of you who study JKD and always say, this is just a training concept and it's a training methodology and trapping is really not an actual approach, you're lying. You actually have trapping as a range of combat, so that proves that that's a lie. Let me explain to you. According to the JKD people, they have 4 ranges of combat. Tommy, get into a stance. They have the kicking range, they have the punching range, they have the trapping range, and then finally they have the grappling range. 4 ranges of combat. The fact that they classify trapping as an actual range of combat shows me that they believe it's an actual combat application. This is a complete fallacy. Trapping will never work, guys, in a real fight. And JKD likes to borrow concepts and techniques from other arts, other trapping arts, such as Filipino martial arts, where they use the absurd technique of a destruction technique. It's supposed to look like and work like this, guys. From a fighting stance, and of course I can use my beautiful attack by draw to draw the straight shot. When he throws the shot, I'm supposed to simultaneously parry and sandwich his fist into my elbow. The elbow is going to be the destruction tool, and it's going to supposedly break his hand. So again, he throws it in here, I sandwich it, I destroy the limb, I come in, I parry and punch, and then I step in, of course, into the trapping range and incorporate a trapping technique. That's how this is supposed to work in a street fight. Now, Tommy, you're a law enforcement officer, 28 years experience, he's seen violence firsthand, up and close. What do you think about that technique in a street fight?
There's no way it'll work. If I punched you, you think I'm gonna throw one punch? I'm gonna throw multiple punches. That first punch also is not gonna be me standing back throwing a punch. It's gonna be me stepping in to destroy your face and then follow up with a left hand.
So is this practical?
Not practical at all.
Would it ever work?
No.
There's no way in hell it's gonna work, okay? If you don't believe us, you guys are gonna have to experience it for yourself in the real world. I'm telling you right now, if you think you're gonna time this perfectly against a lightning fast jab or even a really slow punch, I'm telling you right now, it's never gonna work. You're gonna get your ass handed to you. Hey, we're about to get back into the video, but let me ask you something. Do you want to legitimately accelerate your self-defense skills? And are you sick of clickbait videos teaching absolute garbage? Or tired of being misled by unqualified wannabe experts who have zero credibility or experience? If the answer is yes, now is the time to join my War Machine memberships. As a member, you're going to get exclusive access to in-depth training videos, exclusive full-feature video content, downloadable training PDFs, and direct insights you're not going to find anywhere else. Plus, you're going to have direct access to me in the comment section of all my videos. So if you have questions, you're going to get real, detailed answers from me and not some random keyboard warrior. So if you're serious about mastering real-world combat skills, hit the join button below and start training like a true war machine. Now, let's get back to the lesson. Jeet Kune Do completely overlooks the most critical stage of real violence, the pre-contact phase. There's no focus on tactical de-escalation, no doctrine for striking first, no training on reading cues or controlling range. Instead, JKD conditions you to wait, to stand there until the attacker makes the first move. Just like the stupidity of Krav Maga, it teaches hesitation instead of action. And that isn't a strategy, it's a death sentence. It's like letting a gunslinger draw first and hoping you're faster than the bullet. JKD hesitates. Now, in my contemporary fighting art system, we initiate. And in real combat, the one who owns the pre-contact stage owns the fight. Another glaring flaw in Jeet Kune Do is the complete absence of real weapon defense. There is no methodology to defend against knives, baseball bats, machetes, or even gun disarms. Nothing. In the real world, weapons are everywhere, and any self-defense system or methodology that ignores them is dangerously incomplete. And when JKD practitioners try to borrow disarms, they reach for the absurd and ridiculous Wing Chun Kung Fu or Filipino martial arts. Techniques that collapse instantly under real-world pressure. Those disarms aren't just impractical, they're absolutely stupid. In reality, you either control the weapon or you get cut, shot, or bludgeoned. JKD has no methodology for this, which makes it suicidal against armed violence and useless in the real world. Jeet Kune Do leaves gaping holes you can drive a truck through. There is no methodology for dealing with multiple attackers, no combat psychology, no combat conditioning, no understanding of the use of force and the law, no firearms training, no edge weapon training beyond the useless Filipino martial arts, no weapon retention skills, no first strike methodology, no pre-contact cues such as awareness and assessment skills, no stress inoculation or mental toughness training, no environmental awareness, no improvised weapon training, no scenario-based training, no adrenal stress training, no pressure testing, no street ground fighting methodology, and no integration of any of these critical components into a unified system. It's a grocery list of absences. JKD doesn't prepare you for the real world. It prepares you for nothing. Now I know some of you are going to argue that Jeet Kune Do is just a concept, and you're going to parrot the tired line of absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is your own. But here's the problem. If it's just a concept, then it shouldn't even carry the name Jeet Kune Do. And it certainly shouldn't have any fighting techniques, training drills, classes, instructional videos, or anything resembling structure. The moment you teach it, label it, and disseminate it, you've turned it into exactly what Bruce Lee warned against, another restrictive style. And that's the hypocrisy of the JKD community. That's right, you guys are hypocrites. You guys claim it's only a concept, but then you promote it and sell it like a fighting system. And let's not forget commercial JKD schools, curriculums, seminars, and even certifications. So spare me that it's just a concept and not a system defense. The community teaches it, markets it, and sells it, exactly like a system. That's not me twisting JKD. That's them betraying Bruce Lee. And let's dismantle the fanboy excuse that JKD is anything that works. That is absolute bullshit. It's not insight, it's a philosophical cop-out. Because if anything that works qualifies, then nothing is excluded. And once nothing is excluded, JKD becomes meaningless. By that logic, pissing on yourself to make your attacker lower his guard during a fight is Jeet Kune Do. Or screaming, "I'm Batman," and flapping your arms in the middle of a fight to confuse your adversary is Jeet Kune Do. Reality-based self-defense requires a defined methodology built on efficiency, effectiveness, and safety, not a bumper sticker philosophy masquerading as a fighting method. And here's the part no one wants to admit. Bruce Lee himself regretted naming it Jeet Kune Do because he knew a name creates limitations. But the truth is, you must have structure if you want to defend yourself in the real world. You need a methodology, a framework, a doctrine that can be applied under real-world chaos. Without that, you don't have self-defense. You have a poster child for cognitive dissonance. And that's why JKD collapses. It tries to be limitless, and in doing so, it becomes useless. And you know what? The real reason no one else calls this out is because they're frightened. They're scared to upset the fanboys. They're scared to tarnish the Bruce Lee mythology. They're scared to lose business. Frankly, I don't give a shit. I've been the black sheep of the martial arts community since 1989, and I've been telling the truth ever since. I don't chase fads. I don't worship idols. I expose bullshit. And if that makes people hate me, good. I wear their hate like a badge of honor. The truth is, Bruce Lee was constantly innovating. His untimely death froze Jeet Kune Do in 1973, and I believe if he lived, he would have realized the fatal flaw of trying to build a concept instead of a reality-based self-defense system. He would have corrected course, most likely in the same direction I've gone with contemporary fighting arts. But the JKD community isn't expanding the legacy. They're not innovating. They're entombing it. And that's why I'll say this one more time. Jeet Kune Do will never work in a real fight. It wasn't a combat system. It was a personal experiment that died with Bruce. What's left today are trapping fantasies, sparring illusions, and choreographed drills that collapse under real-world pressure. On the street, false confidence doesn't save you. It gets you hurt or killed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next video.